your story, how many other women right now in Sudan do you think are experiencing part, if not all, of what you're experiencing without the voice to speak up?
A lot, many, and even worse than my situation. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking, because if no one knows about it, what we can do about it?
Hey, this is Christianocan, and this is a very unique episode and share of a candid conversation. For those of you all who are listening on Spotify and other podcasts, and those who may be watching on YouTube, there are one of three reasons that you can see or hear today's message. One, what we're talking about was successful, and so you're seeing this because it's a celebration and just giving you awareness. Two, it was unsuccessful, and this is to show you what we were up against and to give you some insight on some of the atrocities and curiosities and happenings on life and movement of life. Or three, it's still pending, and this is used to further inform others of what's at stake, what's on the table, and what's possible. So this deals with a subject of freedom of movement, the pursuit of happiness in life. And these are two things that in and of themselves fall under universal law, something that no man, woman, entity, or energy can take away from you. Now, you can relinquish them, you can turn them over, you can give them up, but nothing, whether you know about them or not, nothing can take them away. I have had conversations about immigration. If you haven't seen it, there was a conversation that I had with 𝗀𝗏 𝗀𝗏, who went through the immigration systems of Canada and the United States with a large chunk of marijuana that was a part of his diet. Like, his justification for his health and well-being did not meet the base criterion for these organizations of people and things that should have no control over his well-being. If I tell you that I need to drink 50 oranges to stay healthy, there should be nothing that should stop me from freely being able to go grab 50 oranges to stay happy. There should be no law, no rule, and no obstruction for that pursuit of something that you don't create. You don't create oranges. You don't make them. You didn't make the seed. You don't make the sunlight. You didn't make the water. And so this is about the pursuit of happiness and well-being. Some of these topics may implore you to look more into just world happenings. Look at the person next to you. Someone is not in your family or is in your family. You never know what someone's going through. The next time you sit on the bus, the train, look to your left or right. The next time you're at a game or concert, you just never know who's next to you, what they're going through or what they made it through. So mindfulness and the brain of your heart used in these exchanges is key. Before I introduce her, this very special guest, what I want to say is that if you're listening to me, I may change the position I have. You may hear it different in my tone, the words I use. I don't want you to think that I'm angry. But if you get angry, that's justified, because I'm going to play the devil's advocate to get out what I need to make sure we have what we need, whether you see or know what is trying to be accomplished. But this is a true story. These are true happenings. And right now, I want to introduce you to 𝗀𝗏. And 𝗀𝗏 and I are going to talk about her pursuit of freedom, how it started, why it started, where it is, and what's in motion. So, 𝗀𝗏, how are you?
I'm great.
That's
At this
good.
moment,
Yeah. So to jump right into it, what I'll say is that I know you to be from Sudan, and that you spent significant the largest portion of your life in Sudan with your family under a set of rules, religions, and ways of life that as you grew, you realized that not only was this not for you, you had to do something about it. You couldn't be complacent. And it took more than what you had been given by someone else. It wasn't like someone else did it and said, hey, follow me. It was like, hey, I got to do something by any means necessary. So I'm gonna let you start with the story. I'll ask questions every now and then, and yeah, let's get going.
Where do we start? In Sudan?
You left Sudan under extreme circumstances. What was taking place, and where did you go?
A lot of things were taking place when I finally decided to leave Sudan. It wasn't an easy decision for me at that time because from how I see it right now, I was breaking out from everything that I've ever known my whole life, and I was going for the unknown with a lot of uncertainty, which is something was really scary for me at that point. But with what was happening, I just realized there is no other way.
What was happening?
I was subjected for 27 years to physical, mental, verbal, and sexual abuse from my family and other people as well. And I was always being suppressed for being different and have different opinions and just wanting to live my life differently. That wasn't acceptable. I had to live based on certain rules that everyone else is living, but not me. And yeah, that was challenging. And it made me doubt myself at some times. I'm gonna admit that. But I always had this voice inside me telling me, no, that's not it. This is not life. And you are not the one to accept what has been given to you. So it's time to go out there to the world and explore life and get to know yourself.
You said 27 years of mental, physical, and sexual abuse. That's a really open-ended, subjectionable term. It's like when you say physical abuse so casually, I'm like, yeah, you got pushed down for discipline and you got up and you're the fastest runner, or you sexual abused. Okay, yeah, you were playing with yourself or someone played with you and you took it the wrong way and made it something you weren't because you were young. Or what do you mean you went through physical, spiritual, and mental abuse for 27 years and you had to go? Is it old traumas that you fell into, or was it a continuing trauma that you had to end? Like, what are we talking about? What type of events happened?
Yeah, it was a continuous trauma and nightmare for me. I was living on hell, like in hell on earth. That was what it was like for me. And I'm saying this now, but before, I didn't even see it like this. I didn't see the trauma. I didn't see that the pain that they caused me. I was still longing for their love, for their acceptance. But now when I'm out of there and I started my healing journey, I'm more aware of myself, of what happened. I'm memorizing a lot of things that happened. I see everything clearly. And I have been abused in so many ways my whole life in Sudan. That was the reason. That was the only reason that I couldn't live there anymore, because I couldn't be a victim anymore. 27 years was enough for me.
What's the earliest moment that you remember when you say I was subjected to abuse? So 27 years is a long time. So let's go back to your earliest memory or recall. What comes to mind? What type of abuse are we talking about?
Well, the physical abuse, of course, started early in my childhood because that's how it is in my country. You discipline kids by beating them, and the beating could vary. It's from the father, from the mother, the brother as well. He had the biggest share at that time, and for me, there is no explanation for violence, especially against kids. That's how I see it now. There was no reason. Will make it okay for them to treat me like this.
What you just said so far in your example, I mean, I hear you. And if we're looking at this push for immigration, freedom of travel, refugee status, or asylum, I just heard that you got physically abused, aka disciplined by the older people in your family that is normal in your country. That doesn't sound like anything extraneous, nothing to run away from, maybe to grow up from, and you realize what it is. So, okay, you got disciplined. Is that the limit of your physical abuse?
Disciplined. Let's stop here as well, because for them they were trying to discipline me, but for me they were actually trying to change me for someone that I'm not. They were trying to make me a copy from everyone else. You have to follow the same rule. You have to eat the same food. You have to wear the same clothes. We get to decide everything for you. What to study, what to wear, what to do, everything. Who to get married to. That's a level of freedom I had, choosing nothing in my life.
So how long, just because this sounds, I'm trying to put this together. So how long were your clothes, your food, your studies, and at what age was your husband set up for you? Like, how long did this last?
It lasted until I left Sudan, and that's the reason I left, because I realized that's not going to change.
So that's what you're telling me is that your clothes, your food, your studies, and your husband were chosen for you up until the age of 27 years old?
I was forced to have a marriage contract with my cousin when I was 19.
What does that mean? What is a contract? Marriage is, to me, is just a contract, but you say it so sure. A lot of people won't say that. They're like, we're married. And it's like, no, you have a marriage contract. But what does that mean when you say that?
Okay, well, so in the Sudanese culture, or also Muslim culture as well, wedding is not, you're not really married until you have intercourse with your with your partner. Mm-hmm. And there is a tradition or a way of marriage in those countries where you have a contract that you're married, but you're not married yet. You don't live together. So you have time to prepare, and for the guys to, buy the stuff for the wedding. It could take 1 year or 2 years, depending. And then they will have the marriage ceremony, and they are officially married when they live together. So it was the same, and I was at the last year in the university. So they did the marriage contract, and the wedding was supposed to be directly after I finished the last year of the university.
And so what happened?
So what happened is I didn't want this to happen from the beginning. It wasn't my choice, as I said. And when the time was going, I was realizing this. Yeah, it's a contract, but it's not a finalized thing. Mm-hmm. I could get out of it. And I remember in April 2011, I went on a tour with the university for 10 days. And my family didn't want me to do that because I wasn't allowed to spend any night outside of the house. But at that point, I could use their thing against them. So I was like, well, right now I'm technically married, so you're not responsible of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the person who should say yes is the guy who's married to me. And I told them that he already said yes, my cousin.
All right, so we just took a pause because recall, no matter how many things you've gone through, grown through, faced, how many battles, how much you've seen, recall of some moments are overwhelming. And to really recall some things, you fully go back into that moment and reattach to some emotions, some afflictions, and various other things. So I'm going to pull up the question again and allow you to answer. And if you want to go another direction, we can. Where we left off was the fact that you were going on a school trip, and this trip required multiple days where you would stay outside of the home, outside of your house. And this isn't something that is customary in a Muslim home or in your Sudanese or in your family home. And so therefore you used or were going to use the push for education, or you were about to explain what was going to happen so that you could stay overnight and take this trip?
So yeah, I used their weapon against them, so to say. So the marriage contract they forced me into actually means that I can get my husband to be acceptance for this instead of my family.
Wow, sirs.
So the responsibility of me has gone from my family into the man I'm going to be married to. See, this is the thing. You're never free. You're never free there. As a woman, I saw it that way. I still see it this way. Because they see it as a responsibility of someone else to take decisions for women's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, that's not how I would live my life. And that's why I'm here today.
So let's, as we continue to walk through this, it can be highly graphic and super emotional. And for some people listening, quite relatable. Like, we don't know the audience, but don't be surprised at the feedback, the questions, and for some, the backlash of sharing such things, because some things you're not supposed to say. And we're going to get there because you broke out of the cage where you weren't supposed to say it, and now the caged bird can sing. So give me a typical day in Sudan before you left and the typical day where you are, so we can get a difference on the varying levels of freedom, because you're still stepping through it. So walk me through. Be the storyteller.
Yeah, a typical day. Yeah, it will start in the morning by probably my father waking me up to do the morning prayer at like 6 a.m. in the morning or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's a vacation day or if I'm working or if I'm going to school, because that's what you do every day, 5 times at least. So, and this was really important for my dad to do the prayer on its time. So yeah, it wasn't a good start for the day for me, because I don't want to wake up from sleep. I be forced to wake up to do something that I don't want to do. And I don't really see a point.
One thing about you saying that quote you just said is something that not just is applicable to you, it's probably applicable to probably 80% of the world. When their alarm wakes them up to go to a job that they no longer want to do, to get money, to do the things they want to do, their day starts with being awoken to first do what they don't want to do. But I'm going to let you keep going. It just stuck a chord with me of, that's key.
Yeah. So what I meant is the point from waking me up was to do my prayer. It didn't matter if I had work or school or anything. It was the prayer what was mattered, to do it in time, which is something that I didn't want to do, and I didn't see a point behind praying 5 times a day. But I wasn't even allowed to question that, because being born in a Muslim family that technically makes you a Muslim, and there is no way to question it. It's not on the table.
You never had a choice. You didn't pick your religion.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice in everything. I didn't feel, if you think about it, I didn't choose my name. I didn't choose my family. I didn't choose my education. I didn't choose. The only thing that I really chose is myself, and that's when I left Sudan. And that's the same choice I'm making right now by telling this story and facing all this pain all over again and going through it. That's the only way to do it for me.
So wait a minute. Maybe I'm not getting this, and I want to make it clear for anyone listening or watching. You're not in Sudan right now. When you left Sudan, where did you go, or where are you? If they're the same place.
I live in Sweden right now, where there is snow covering everything at this moment. Very different from Sudan, where it's always warm and hot, and it's very different in so many things.
Yeah, we were talking about off camera. We were talking about the difference between a snowstorm and a sandstorm. It's like if you've never seen a sandstorm in your life and only seen it in the movies. I didn't realize until recently how many people have never or will never see a sandstorm in their life. And I'm like, oh, so all you know is rain and snow? Oh, wow. Yeah, sand is a little differently and it hurts.
yeah. And see, this is life. I want to see everything of it. It's not just I saw the sandstorms and the floods in Sudan, a lot of things, and many beautiful things in Sweden here as well. It's so many to explore all around the world, and I'm a free bird. I want to fly.
Okay, so let's pull back. I want to stay in this moment of just potently of you're in Sudan, you're 27 years into having your everything chosen for you, prearranged marriages, educational path, future, just it's kind of like laid out based on religion and culture. And here you are being in opposition of this. Over 27 years, there had to be more than just your father waking you up for prayer. This and inconveniencing your sleep because you don't agree. Right now, I still haven't heard anything that says, "Hey, you definitely." Okay, I'm like, I don't hear asylum. I don't hear refugee. I hear someone that's running away from to find life, to live. That's different from running away from an affliction or a fear or a war or things needed to build the case for your next step. You made it from Sudan to Sweden. You're free. You're away from your parents, waking you up for prayer. Like, what's so traumatizing, or what was such a big deal? The prearranged marriages, people know you were born into this family and this culture. That's a part of it. It's just like, okay, that's what happens.
That's a part of it, yeah, but that doesn't mean I have to accept it.
Okay. So, and you not accepting it, what are the consequences?
I hear you. And to make things more clear for you, for the audience, I'm just gonna recall some of the traumatic memories.
Just
From
take a
my
breath. Just take a breath and pause before you do it. That's all I ask.
last fight before I left Sudan, and I was like 2 months before I left Sudan, I think. And it was me trying to go somewhere out of the house on a holiday. And that wasn't something my family would allow without like a valid reason for them. Where are you going? What are you going to do? If you don't have work or study, then you shouldn't go outside of the house. So I was like, yeah, I want to. It was a Eid celebration. It's a religious thing where families get together and the big families and people celebrate and stuff. So women get together as well, and they tend to fix themselves for this celebration. So I was like, I wanted to fix my hair for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And my oldest sister came and she was like, no, you can't do that because you need to clean the house before tomorrow. It's a big celebration. And I was like, yeah, but why do I need to clean the house? Why do I have to do that? The argument started, and then I was like, okay, I can get someone to clean the house and pay them. And then she was like, no, that won't happen. She went to my mother, and my mother was like, yeah, you're not getting out of the house. Why would you even do your hair? That's nothing important. Meanwhile, that was acceptable for my other sisters, but not for me. You asked me the reason, I still can't figure out why. But anyway, so at that point, I was in so much pain that I didn't realize what happened when I snapped at my mother and my sister, and I was just raging, so to say. I was like, "What? Why this is happening to me? Why are you guys treating me like this? I'm not your daughter. I'm not your sister. I'm not part of this family." And that's how I felt my whole life, because not being the same, that meant for you being the enemy, and that I'm living on a fight every day for everything. I'm fighting for everything in my life. And that's not how should it be. So right now, I don't know what to do. I can't accept this. What do you want to do? You want to kill me? Just go ahead. Do it right now. You will end my misery, and you will end yours as well, because that's not a life. And while I was saying this, I was being beaten by my mother and my oldest sister. But I didn't stop talking, because at that point, I didn't feel any physical pain. It was just, I reached a point where physical doesn't even mean anything for me. I have had enough. I have scars. I have all these memories. I can recall all the moments. Physical pain meant nothing for me. So at that point, something inside me told me that that's it. There is no way back from what you said, because my whole life I didn't really speak up for myself. I tried many times, but I never let my feelings out, that I feel I'm a prisoner and I've been treated like this my whole life. So I would say that was the day I knew that I'm going to get out of Sudan. I didn't know when, how, but I knew it would happen, because once I decided it, then there is no way back. It was impossible to live in that place anymore. I would have preferred to die than doing this.
This is the emotional pain that you went through.
That's one thing. What?
I said this is one of the emotional.
Sorry?
This is an emotional pain that you went through.
Emotional, and yeah, it was emotional pain. The physical, I didn't feel it at that moment, because when you have gone through the same things over and over and over and over and over again, you kind of, it's hard to explain.
You become numb to them. It's not that. Just indifferent is a way. It's just you just become indifferent to it. So that's a moment of extreme emotional pain that made the physical pain or the situation numb. But it sounds like it was also a breaking moment for you saying, okay, enough is enough. How many years or months or weeks before you exited Sudan would you say this happened?
After that fight?
Yeah, how long after that did you exit?
2 months. 2 months.
2 months after that.
Because when this happened, when my reaction was that extreme and they didn't see this level of rage of me before, they knew that, I tried to run away before. So for them, at that moment, they felt, oh, maybe she will run away again. So they locked me up in the house again.
Again? Whoa. Again. What does locking you in the house mean? If it's a house, are the keys on the outside of the door? Do you have guards and dogs? Like, how does one lock you in your own home?
With a lock in the door, and my mom and my father would only have the keys. And they would take my phone as well. That sounds crazy when I think of it right now, but for me at that point, it was just a normal life. So the things that happened over and over and over again, all over those years, where I reached to a point and I was like, what? I'm 27 years old, and I'm living in a bubble made by people that it's not me. That's not my life. That's not who I am. Who am I kidding? I'm just living. I'm eating, breathing, not sleeping well, actually, because it was just nightmares every night.
So I'm going to bring you in because I know we're still going deeper. I'm going to tell you where I sit. If I'm being the devil's advocate, if I'm trying to really keep you where you are because it doesn't seem like enough, what I hear is, okay, you grew up, you had a very tight niche family environment. You couldn't do much based on your cultural and religion standard. You had an argument with your mothers, your sisters. You didn't feel like you belonged. Now they locked you in your room as an adult woman, kept and took your phone away to cease communication. All right, that's a bit extraneous, but I'm not in your cultural situation. So right now, it just sounds like you grew up in a very strict environment. And I'll add, for devil's advocate, is that I've traveled extensively around the world, and I've seen some pretty extreme things in the caste system when I was going through India, amongst other places in the tribal environments. And so right now I hear you, but if I'm sitting on the side of, again, trying to look at immigration and movement, the freedom to go, refugee status, I'm in fear for my life, or asylum is that people are actually out to kill me or harm me in extreme circumstances. I seek solace for my peace of mind, soul, and spirit. I mean, I'm not there yet. So there is something more to this, because you made it from Sudan to Sweden under these circumstances. So what am I missing about the afflictions or the abuses or the traumas that justified letting you leave your country and then not sending you back? Like, what happened? Like, you had an argument with your mom and you wanted to go after 27 years. Am I missing something, or is there something else that you can help me with?
Yeah.
And again, take a breath if it's tough to share, but do note that I'm trying to make sure we get what we need to get out of this to get where we're trying to go.
So I started my story with that fight because, as you said, it was a breaking through moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
But why I left Sudan? Because I was stuck in a house with a mother that's always kept beating me for no reason, just for me trying to be myself. Torture. It was a torture in so many ways. And just recently, I had a memory while meditating of her sexually abusing me when I was a kid. And yeah, it kind of makes sense now why she took all her anger on me, because I was a reminder for something that she did and she don't. Maybe she felt guilt about it, I don't know, or she just don't want to face it. That's how I see it now. With a brother who also sexually abused me when I was a teenager. We went into so many physical fights that I can't even count through the years. He would just hit me for fun. Yeah, he would just pass through while he's going to the kitchen or anywhere in the house, and he would just hit me or throw something at me for no reason. And I'm not talking about like harmless or playing with your sister. No, it was violent. I was scared of him. I wanted him dead at some point. I felt like my life would be so much better if he's dead, if my mother is dead, if they're all are dead. Yeah. So one of my sisters as well, when I was a kid, and she was giving me showers, she would touch me, and I didn't understand what she was doing at that point until I grew up. And I never talked to anyone about this. Like, who would believe me? They wouldn't. That I knew, because I wasn't the favorite. I was the black sheep of the family. So why would they believe me over their favorite, the one that follows the rules, so to say? But behind, they are the devil. What didn't make sense to me is all this pretending about the God and heaven and hell, and you have to be a good person. But I didn't see good people there. That was people pretending to be good and to follow rules that would lead them to heaven. But what they were actually doing, it was just hurt and pain and anger and fear and all these bad feelings. Yeah. I left because my mental health was at the edge as well. After 27 years, who could, like, I've always been strong. I've faced a lot of things, but at some point I felt if I don't get out of here, I don't know how long I can go. It's just too much for one person to take and no one to talk to. No one, literally no one knew about my story in Sudan. And that's why when I disappeared, I know that everyone was like, what happened? What happened? What happened? She had a good life because that's what they saw. With my family, I have to pretend. I have to pretend to be someone else, to live. And I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't.
Okay. So these were, as I hear you speak, and even referencing a recent recall of your mother sexually abusing you, there are still memories. There are still events and happenings coming up for you even now. And that's based on 27 years of memories don't come up in one conversation. And you have to think of the different ages you went through, the different life cycles, and how traumas tuck things away. They hide themselves because they don't. Your body, your soul, you aren't ready to digest it, accept it, or discern exactly what it is. So you just tuck it away. So it's empowering to recall these moments and go back. And like you say, you can kind of see it kind of makes sense now. Like once you get a hold of that, it doesn't make the situation better. It doesn't remove what happened. It does give you that power to overcome and use that moving forward, which is part of what we're doing now. So here we go. 27 years being literally abused by everyone in your household, imprisoned in your household. And it sounds almost like the Cinderella story in the sense that she was the black sheep. She was the one that had to clean, stay behind, couldn't go to the balls. Everything seems like that. And before we move forward, I want to ask you this. Your story, how many other women right now in Sudan do you think are experiencing part, if not all, of what you're experiencing without the voice to speak up?
A lot, many, and even worse than my situation. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking, because if no one knows about it, what we can do about it? Someone has to talk. Someone has to do something. I did something for myself, and I wish this to stop for everyone. No one deserves to live such a life. No one. What I went through, I would never wish anyone in this whole world. I would never wish anyone to go.
So you made it out of Sudan and you made it to Sweden. And again, I have to stick to this devil's advocate of, okay, everything I'm hearing, you were sexually abused, you were physically abused, you were mentally abused, you were imprisoned to an extent. This is a part of the culture to an extent. So why not just send you back and you go deal with it with the psychiatrist, some other agency? What are other options? Like, why must you not be there to deal with what happened there?
Why not? Sorry.
Why must you not be there? Why must you be away? Why are you unable to go back and, deal with them face to face and make sure it doesn't happen? Like, you went through it for 27 years. Was it going to get any worse? You saw it, but did you have to leave to beat it? Is there someone you can go talk to, an aunt or uncle you can go live with and work on these issues with your family? Like, were there any other options?
If there was any other options, I would have taken it. I've tried everything. I have tried everything that I could in that place. And you said it may sound like the centralist story. It's not the centralist story. I was allowed to work, but only because I give the money, the biggest share, to my family, because I owe them this, depend on what they say. Since we raised you, we put you into the university, and then it's time to pay back until you go to your husband's house. So for me, imagining that I'm going to be living the same life that like I'm living right now, but just in a different house, that's not an option. That's not a choice. I wouldn't be able to heal if I stayed in Sudan. I wouldn't be able to recognize any of the trauma because those things happens a lot in my country, but no one talks about it.
So,
and when no one talks about things doesn't change. We have been in the same thing for so many years, and I've seen it. If there was an option out of it in that place, I would have made it, and that's why I'm here. If there was a choice, I said this in the first interview as well with the migration authorities, I would have figured it out if there was a choice there. It wasn't. The walls were just building up more and more. The prison that I was living in was more and more walls building. I had to break free at some point, otherwise I would have been imprisoned forever.
Okay, so you made it. You made it out.
Think about it. 27 years, people are talking, oh, she's not married yet. And at that point, my limitations were becoming more and more, where I felt like, okay, this cage is getting even more tighter and tighter. And me inside, I'm getting more broken. And if I don't get out of this place, I'll be broken forever. Or I don't know what would happen to me if I stayed in Sudan, but I was at the edge.
Did you?
The final edge.
You've been imprisoned, you've been beaten and abused. Did you ever feel like your life was in danger, though? Did you ever feel like they may kill you or that they have the potential to?
Yeah, now I have this feeling. Yeah. And I feared my family for so long. And I don't want to be afraid of them again. Now I'm here in Sweden. It's like one thing that whatever I did in Sudan and tried to be myself despite the rules and everything and get all the detail for it. But running away from the country has brought the shame into my family and a scandal in the society. That's how it worked there. Because I just disappeared. So everyone started asking questions. Where is she? What happened? Where? And they got isolated. So now I'm the one who brought the shame for the whole family, not just for my small family, no, the family name. Now I don't know where the hit will come from. Uncle, cousin, and cousin that you may never even recognize because you haven't seen before, but just because you have the same family name.
So
And don't have like okay.
Based on what I know about discipline, both from yourself and others, is that we talked about this, and you can correct me or expound upon what you're mindful of now that you're in Stockholm or Sweden, looking back over what you got away from and what you're trying to avoid. You just stated that you feel in danger because of the shame brought upon your family with your absence. And they've had several years to locate you, think about it, and live through their shame, their pain. And I remember I posed the question to you, knowing some things. I said, what's the worst case scenario of you returning? And you said, worst case scenario, as you were just saying, is that they would beat me to death, and it wouldn't be the beating of just my father or my mother. It would be people and cousins and uncles that I don't even know, I wouldn't recognize or haven't seen. That's one. So then I posed the question to you on what would be the best case scenario. And you said best case scenario based on shame and the culture. Best case scenario is that I would be imprisoned indefinitely. These are your concerns right now that you're in Stockholm, in Sweden, correct?
Yes. And yeah, as I said, right now my mental health is also my top priority. I started this healing journey. I'm not going back. Going back to Sudan will bring back all the memories, all the trauma, and I will leave it over and over again. And I don't know how that will affect me, because once you start healing, there is no way back. There's no way back.
So right now you're thousands of miles away from that location, and you've been there for some time. How many years have you been in Sweden?
I've been in Sweden for 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years. Why leave now? And what's stopping you from leaving? Why is this topic of conversation right now?
I'm leaving right now because I want to continue my journey and finding myself and getting over everything that happened to me in the past, so I can live a better life in peace of mind, so to say. And I think every human being entitled to for this right.
What's stopping you from doing that? Like, what's stopping you from getting up and
Nothing
being where you
is
want to be?
actually stopping me, and I'm going to do that. And I'm only sharing this story because it's also part of my healing journey to talk about it and to get the support, the Swedish migration authorities support, that I can safely go to my final destination.
Wait, so let me kind of bring this around. So now that we're talking about Swedish migration and their support, after 3 years in this Swedish system, what is your current status? Are you a refugee? Are you in asylum? Are you in holding? Where are you right now after 3 years?
I applied for asylum in June 2018, and I went through 3 interviews with the migration authorities. Each one lasted for 3 hours, and it was all about my story. And the first 2 interviews, I wasn't happy about it because I felt the translator have translated what I said completely wrong. So we had the third one in December 2000 or September 2020 last year. I'm not sure about September or December, but anyway. And I thought that would be it. And then I will get a decision. And I've been working and paying taxes for 2 years plus. And it's just taking so long. And Sweden have given me the time I needed to reflect on everything happened to me for the past 27 years that I live in Sudan. And now I just need to go where I need to be. And I don't want to wait anymore.
What are you waiting on? What is
a decision. I'm waiting a decision on whether I can stay or not. But the thing is, right now, I don't want to stay in Sweden. I am grateful for the chance that Sweden have given me, and I really enjoyed living in Sweden, getting to know the Swedish culture. Jag kan prata lite svenska as well. I started learning the language, and I met fantastic people from all around the world here in Stockholm. It was a great experience for me. I started my healing journey, seeing a therapist who helped me a lot. And she was the one who recommended meditation first time for me. So,
hey, say that again. It came through a bit unclear. Your therapist recommended what for you?
Meditation.
Oh, okay, cool.
And meditation, and that I should write or try to take my thoughts and feelings out. And so last year, October, I quit my full-time job as a client coordinator, and I put all the time I have for myself, for my healing, and for my art. So
now,
right
I'm going to
now,
ask you to say it one more time, just for clarity purposes, because there's an echo in your room. So you quit your job as a what in October?
I was working as a client coordinator for a sales company.
Mm-hmm.
And also at that point, I have worked since November 2019. And I was supposed to get a permanent contract after 6 months, and then Corona happened. So they said, oh, we don't know yet. So we're going to give you another contract until August, and then we give you the permanent one. But then again in August, they said October. And when it comes to October, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I felt like I am denying that I'm not sleeping good. My physical health was getting so bad. I've been to the hospital many times and sick leave many times without knowing what was happening to me, until I just took a pause and focused on myself. And right now, I've never had this level of energy before in my whole life. I feel so good. My diet haven't been better. I feel better than ever, but I still need to deal with a lot of stuff that's going on within me. And I just need to be in the place that will help me unlock everything that lies within.
So let me give a quick summation. Correct me if I'm wrong, so that anyone who can't hear you clearly, maybe they hear me, or just hearing something twice gives you like, oh, okay, that's what happened. So first summation is that you left Sudan, arrived in Sweden. You've been in Sweden for 3 years, and you were there seeking asylum. You've had 3 interviews for 3 hours each. Your first 2 interviews were in Arabic, and the translators didn't properly translate what you were trying to convey based on different biases or certain things that were incorrectly translated that were in favor of your cause. The third interview took place as recently as fall of 2020, for which you thought that after 3 years and 3 interviews, you would get a decision on if you will be allowed to stay in a place that you have been staying in for 3 years. In those 3 years, you've picked up employment, which means you weren't seeking handouts from the Swedish government. And in addition to that, you learned the language, proactively taking classes, and you paid taxes. Off camera, we spoke on how you have your name on a lease, and literally you're actually operating as a viable citizen by all means other than the official documentation that is a part of this process. And so at this point, you've gone through therapy and realized that from all the doctor visits, all the uncovered traumas and everything, the main thing and the most impactful thing that was needed was to follow the advice of your therapist and to meditate and continue to choose yourself and your inner resolve. And that has shifted your diet, shifted your thoughts, and therefore shifted to you where it's like, okay, Sweden, I'm thankful for everything you did. I came here seeking solace away from a life of pain, struggle, abuse, imprisonment, and potentially death. And through the process of waiting for you to accept me to be here, I was accepted by the people here. I was accepted by the culture here. I was accepted I was accepted. And now that I have been accepted, I have also accepted myself and this journey that is not complete. So while I was asking once for you to accept me to stay, I'm now asking for you to support me for the bridge that you've created for me to continue so that I can get where I need to be. So it sounds like right now, what you're asking for is something it's just almost honorable in a way. It's like, you did this much without knowing, or maybe you knew and just didn't know what would happen. But I'm asking now that you aid me or support me, not aid, you support me in this next phase, because I'm just trying to be the best person, best individual, best Shaima I can be. And you helped me get this far. I don't want to be a burden and I don't want to regress. Right now, my family, my friends, my past life, they know where I am. And so right now, that mental freedom, that physical separation, that spiritual growth is now in jeopardy because they're one phone call, they're one plane ride away from me. And the only thing that leads to in this uncertainty, this uncertain state, is death or imprisonment. So you're seeking to celebrate and continue with the support of all Swedish authorities and affiliates, correct? Is that safe?
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. You just had a meeting, you said, in October of 2020. And you and I are talking right now. It's February 4th of 2021.
I'm not sure if it was December or September. Something in the
Okay, we'll say fall of 2020. What is the current status of what's to come? What's next? And how long do you have to wait?
Well, I actually just got 1 week ago or something, maybe, a call from my lawyer that she got, or I got the mail actually after that, it was 3 days, that I have another interview in March, 10th of March, where my lawyer will be joining by phone. And I will be going to the office by myself. And she said, this interview is not really necessary. It's not really something that could affect the decision on you staying or not.
So what is the purpose of the meeting then? Why would you even take this time if it's not towards your goal?
Because for some reason in the last interview, it had been mentioned. Yeah, I was mentioning that I was volunteering with different organizations here in Sweden as well. Mm-hmm. When they asked, so what are you doing? right now what you have done since the last interview and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I've been volunteering with this organization and I've been volunteering at Pride, the LGBTQ organization here in Stockholm Pride. When they started asking about why would I do that, coming from a Muslim community, and then they started asking about my sexuality, and they said we will need to talk more about this. So to be honest, I don't have more to talk about regarding this because it's not relevant. It's one of the things that like volunteering with the Stockholm Pride don't. Yeah, it's not relevant to question my sexuality because I'm volunteering at Pride, and it's not relevant for the case as well. This is not why I came to Sweden. So yeah, so for me, I don't want to have this interview because I don't want to stay in Sweden anyway. As I just said, I seek the support and safe passage to the place I'm going to.
So, question. You made it from Sudan to Sweden on a plane. What is stopping you from picking up and leaving Sweden right now? Like, what are you asking for since you're no longer seeking asylum? What support do you need at this point? Why won't you just leave?
Okay. So when I applied for asylum, I submitted my passport to the immigration authorities. And the first interview, because I wanted a work permission, and in order to have a work permission, it was written in the papers they gave us, you need to prove your identity. And I didn't have anything else with me other than my passport and my driver license.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't accept the driver license as an identity. And I gave them my passport because I wanted the work permission and I wanted to be able to support myself financially because I didn't go to the immigration camp. I took care of my own place, like I was renting by myself.
So wait, there's an immigration camp that people that seek asylum and refugee status have access to or placed in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone.
Okay.
And that's basically what normally happens. Like people stay in the camps until they get a decision. And normally their cases get processed faster.
If you stay in the refugee camp or the migration camp?
At least since 2019.
Okay.
The cases that started 2019.
Is it that they get approved quicker or they get processed and finalized faster?
They get processed. I've been, they get processed.
Okay.
So I had to give my passport, and right now I don't have any identification paper because my passport that with immigration is already expired last year, and I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have any identification document, so to say. So going through an airplane, I would be asked a lot of questions, and as I said, I just want to say pass it there because, yeah.
So, question for you: if Sweden said we would approve your application and it'd be ready by May, would that be acceptable? Would you be like, oh, okay, it's done, I'm finished? Is it more
No,
of...
that's not it. I could have waited. That's what my lawyer said. You can wait for this interview, or I can try to call them and tell them it's not necessary and we want a decision for that. I didn't even know that was a possibility before. Didn't come up before that conversation. But anyway, that's not the point. What I've been saying this whole time is my soul is longing for somewhere else. So, and there's where I need to be, not Sweden.
Okay. Okay. What if, let me say it and give you something else. All right. So what if your lawyer called and they said they will make a decision by March 15th?
I don't want the decision. I want to do. I'm very thankful. I don't seek asylum anymore in Sweden.
Okay.
I'm very thankful for those 3 years, but yeah, I take my case back.
So I'm about to go on some things that I'm processing about this all, because I think there's a lot more in depth that we could go. I don't think it's needed to go through any more of your personal afflictions in this environment of open forum. If someone wants to reach out to you individually, or if you choose to share, so be it. They can check on some of your artwork and the book that you're working on. But right now, I'm gonna walk you through where I'm at on this. So currently, it sounds like you are in Sweden with a case that you want to withdraw so that you may continue to advance your motion, movement, and search for yourself and freedom. In addition to that, since your departure from Sudan, your travel documentation has expired, which means that in addition to not wanting to be a part of where you were, based on the documentation that you have, you're in a gray area, because the ability to move through the monetized system is restricted, not limited. It's not inaccessible. It's just kind of restricted or limited without these identification pieces. However, you're seeking solace, and you didn't say you were no longer seeking asylum. You were no longer seeking asylum from Sweden, in addition to the fact that you feel threatened. So what I'm discerning is that the support you want is for all active and available parties that have looked at a case, have worked and do work in this environment, to put their minds and resources together to say, hey, this is what you need to do to get where you are next seeking to be. And we'll do what we can within reason to assist you. Is that where we are now? It's just like, it's time to move, and I'll just seek a little assistance, but I'm in a gray area. It sounds like you're in a gray area of transit without identification papers. Is that the biggest concern?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a concern, because I'm in a gray area, but this is happening. I'm just asking for support.
Okay.
I know I'm getting there.
You made it this far.
Yeah,
and
so I know I'm getting there. So
I can only imagine, as I listen to your story, I can only imagine what you used to sound like. I can only imagine what it was like to go through therapy in the snowland after coming from the sandland, and just grabbing onto old memories and afflictions and working through a new diet, a new language. You've already pulled off a layer, if not many. So you've already done it. You know how to break away. It's like you've already taken that first step. I'm gonna let you think about that one. But no, I just want to, it's more of, we started this conversation knowing that this would be a tool, and I prefaced it with that. And so I know that we made this as an asset for us. for you to use, for others to hear, whether it's an individual in Sudan, in a similar situation in a Muslim family, or just anyone that's gone through any abuse or affliction that you can't see the situation you're in. This is that voice of reason. And all I was doing, not to put any more pressure on you to make any more decisions considering what you're pondering. It was more of, I'm here to assist you by any means necessary, as I'm one who supports the push for light. I will support anyone on their journey towards themselves. Not any external feats, but if your greatest feat that you're undertaking is the search for self, I'm your number one fan, whether you know it or not. So no additional questions. I have no additional comments. Is there anything you want to say in closing before we wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you and to whoever is listening to this. And yeah, let's share more together. I think talking about this today helped a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel different now. And yeah, let's all have this kind of conversations, real ones, and help each other grow and glow.
And there we go. This was another candid conversation with Christiano_Can. Just an FYI, censorship is real. The world is technocracy is shutting down voices in opposition of the machine. And so, similar to what 𝗀𝗂𝗍 went through, the individuality and creativity of humans is being censored, silenced, masked, uniformed, and for some, it's being killed completely. We need to continue to have conversations, and there are ways and methods to beat the technocracy because they only control the platforms that they created. So feel free to reach out, connect with us, and we can talk about ways where we can continue to live in this world that technology has always been a part of, whereas we don't allow a few individuals to stop, impede, or censor exchanges like this. There is a way to do it. So feel free to join us at christianocan.com. You can email me directly at christianocan@protonmail.com. And you can join these weekly discussions that have just begun, that are continuing, that we have by joining our Discord server, which is also available at christianocan.com under the contact link. So I thank you. High vibrations, hugs, and keep living this life to your highest passion, because it's amazing what happens in that. Ciao.